Um, but as we are sharing, just wanted to um, let you know what we hope to cover today. So the first, line of topics is what is a men's group? Why is it important? The pre-setup, phase one, phase two, the meetings, the lead up, first meeting, week to week, and phase three is deepening the connections with your men as you go through this whole process. So, the first thing we want to typically ask is what is a men's group? And a men's group is typically a group of 5 to 10 guys that meet on a regular basis to share what is happening in their lives, receive the guidance on how to best navigate their situation. So, when we're talking about a safe place for people to be able to share, to open up, pray with one another, to find that encouragement, this is kind of the reason why we ventured out into this, whole idea of the 33 Men series. And, the importance of it um, is felt throughout this group. Those of you who had gone through it, just how important it was to connect, and some of you have those connections where you're still in contact with those on a weekly or even a bi-weekly basis, and praying for one another, sharing with one another. And I think that that's why this group is so important. As you venture out, make sure you remember those things. Remembering the purpose of the men's group is to help the men better their lives. Men's groups take place locally, online, and also weekend retreats, however it looks like for you. But just remember, yes, it's about the material. Yes, it's about growing together, but it's allowing for that space for men to be able to share, grow, learn, and encourage one another, right? And I think when we look at the whole idea of the disciples, what do we see? We see the exact same process with the disciples where Jesus had the 12. But even among the 12, what we do find is that Jesus had, the top three, that he always took with him, that are always mentioned going up to the Mount of Transfiguration. These are the people that he talks to. So even though he had the 12 in which he dealt with, he ate together, they did ministry together, yet there was a smaller group of people that he was able to journey with as well and pour into. And so, when we look at those dynamics, Christ already, kind of gives us that blueprint, that smaller allowed for him to be bigger. That small group mentality allowed for this group of men to turn the world upside down. And so they weren't just thinking about Galilee. They just weren't thinking about Jerusalem. This thing went global to where it is today. And so, when we look at this group, and we're always so conditioned to talk to the masses. We think the masses, the big church, the numbers, and all that sort of stuff. But don't look at the numbers. You have one, two, three, four. These are the people that God is calling you to impress, to mold, journey together. They multiply you. They definitely multiply you. They multiply the group when they go out and share the same thing, and moving forward as well. So, just looking at some of the logistics as we move into this. Um, so, just looking at phase one, which is the setup and the pre planning. So, phase one we saw as the setup, or the pre-planning phase. So I'll send you this whole document. I'll send you all of this in a PDF, that you can have handy with you. But the first thing that we noticed that we needed to do was pray. And you know how it is. The battle is won through prayer. Every time we got together to plan, every time we got together to talk, it was always bathed in prayer because we knew it was bigger than us. We knew it had to be bigger than just the four of us that were getting together, and this was a God thing that we knew that God was moving us towards. The second thing is start with a rap session with interested men. Victor, go ahead, man. Unmute yourself and share with us I know this was the one point, some of the points that you had put forward.
Yes, thank you. So the rap session basically it gives you an opportunity to get to know the guys and they get to know you. You may say, okay, I know the guys at my church, but do you really? I mean, no, 9 times out of 10, what we normally do when we were in church, we'll say happy Sabbath and we keep it moving. We may spend a couple of hours with each other, but the real person is after that time has passed. You get to know the brother. I like to say that when you know if his breath is hot or not, bad. So you definitely want to get to know the individual. The breakout session. What is it that he's interested in? His favorite colors, his favorite food, his date of birth. These things are rap sessions to get to know each other. So as you as a leader begin to uh, um, record this stuff, whether it be in your head or you write these things down, this is how you get to know you guys. So when you walk beside him, you said, hey, Patrick, man, when the last time you went fishing? That may be his favorite pastime. Hey, Patrick, hey, let's get together and play. Well, since we mainly everything online, hey, how about us playing some online dominoes? You see, those breakout sessions give you that opportunity to get to know the guys that you're coming in bonding with. And I want to say this before I give it back over to the pastors. This right here. Understand that we as men, this is new to us. So as the pastor said, you want to start this, you may not get no more than 2 or 3 guys, because keep in mind, we like to be standoffish. Now you really want to get into my circle. What is this all about, Maurice? Why is it that you really want to know me? Did you hear something about me? You see what I'm saying? So you got to break that ice, and it takes time, but the main thing is being consistent. If you're gonna run it for 6 weeks and you said start at 7, start at 7. If you're gonna end at 8:30, get as close to 8:30 as possible. When you go over to like 9:30 and it's like you're not respecting my time. So make sure those breakout sessions are tight and straight to the point. Deal with it and keep it moving.
Yeah. Thank you. Choose a group of godly men. So out of that group, when you're just doing a rap session, right? So all of this is virtual. Right now, we're in this virtual space. So it may be a little difficult. It's kind of easier to be in people's space, but in the virtual space, if you are at church, just get people together, just, kind of, depending on who you have, in your men's group, just open it up, and just talk and see how people are responding. The people that are there, people that seem like a person who has a close walk with God. And so, as you move forward from this, choose a group of godly men to lead and facilitate. Now, this is no more than 3 or 4 people that will help you out, that will not only lead, but also facilitate in this process. So you make sure you choose wisely, because this is your group. This is, outside of the big group, we journey together, right, Vic? Victor and Cliff and also Fraser, we journeyed together throughout this whole process, as we were talking, discussing, going through the lessons. We grew, and then we were able to bring that over to the bigger group. So make sure that you choose people who are willing to lead and also facilitate. Be intentional about who you want to target, right? So one of the things that we learned that, when we started this process, in all honesty, we were targeting anyone and everyone, men, young men, older men, middle-aged men. It was just men. But what we found is that there were some younger men that jumped on, but they didn't stay. So they didn't journey with us throughout the rest of this course. And sometimes it can be intimidating for young men. So be very intentional about who you want to target. It could be middle to older men, and the younger men. You can run this again with younger men. and it'll be, you know, a different way, being intentional with advertising and how you do it, who you bring on board. But, you know, a lot of the men that we had on our session were married, they had children, right? Some of them had grandchildren. So that was kind of like the life cycle or the season that most of the men were on. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you want to take the same concept and take up younger men, you know, as we were talking about, a lot of us are learning this stuff for the very first time. You know, you imagine if younger men had learned this, they would probably be better off than what we are, right? And so just make sure that you are intentional when you do put this together. Survey the best time. I don't know if you were part of that, but you know, we got back, I think, over 100 responses from what is the best time. You know, we asked them, man, what is the best time? And so I think I had put on 4 different options. One of them was Sunday morning, Sunday evening. The other one was Monday evening. And I think the other one was Thursday evening, right? So out of those 4, it actually came down to Sunday morning and Sunday evening. So it was very close, you know, between the both of them. Then it came down to, okay, so when is the best time for the facilitators, you know, for us to be available, because you got to take all of that into account. Plus it was NBA season, you know, if there was a finals happening on Sunday night, ain't no one showing up to the group, right? So all of those things kind of like come together and making sure you say, let's go to the morning, let's see who turns up, and let's do it that way. So survey what is the best time. You may not get 100%, but at least you'll get, you know, a few folks that are able to come into that time. Agree on a starting time and a ending time, or I think it's supposed to be starting ending date. So as you know, the sessions that we ran were 6 sessions. Instead of going 6 weeks in a row, we opted to do every other week, which is the reason why it stretched us from October all the way to December, right? And that was just to give that break in the middle. We felt that maybe going every week was going to be too much for a lot of the men who may have other things. So that's why we looked at it and we said, you know what, let's start here and we will end here. Because this is the thing as well. For men, we like to see a starting date, but we also like to see an ending date, right? And so to say that it's just going to go on until whatever, people start already to be turned off. But if you tell them, no, we're starting this date, we're going to end in this date, this is the 6 weeks, we're asking for your commitment, and we want you to be a part of this. So you're putting it up front to them to make that decision, make it easy for them, that it's not a year that they're committing to, but you know, it's a block of time that they're committing to. How long are the individual sessions? And Victor kind of touched on this one. We opted for an hour, 15 minutes, but you know, obviously as we continued on, we actually ended up an hour, 30 minutes. But an hour 30 is probably, an hour 15, an hour 30 is probably the best, like in terms of the material, the discussions and everything else like that. Make sure you have the books, the materials, the videos, and advertise, yes, but word of mouth is the best method. You know, getting people to sign up, getting brothers to sign up, getting family members to sign up. And it's broad enough that you know, it can basically be for anyone, right? You don't have to be spiritual or know the Bible, but the concepts in there will challenge you from a biblical perspective and allow you to move forward with that. So is there anything on this one? I may have missed something. Victor, Cliff, please feel free to jump in. This is just the pre-setup, the pre-planning that can kind of give you an overview of how you can do it.
I would like to say this, guys, understand your why you're doing this. And I think that if each leader in leaders that lead out in this, understand your why. Why are you doing this? You as the individual leader that is about to go into this, take that time to meditate and say, okay, why am I into this? Because you are trying to get other men to buy into what you're trying to put out there. And if you don't understand your why, they will sense that. You know, it's just like if somebody's trying to sell you something and you know that they're really not into it. That's the same thing. You want to understand your why and why you want this to happen. You look at it from the inside, what it will do to help you as a man. You know, even though you're the leader, but as Pastor Kool said, you want to surround men that is going to hold you accountable, but at the same time, that is there to cheer you on as well. You know, then you go outside of you, which is the immediate man, and then you want to look at your circle. And I think I said this in one of our meetings. Understand that we're leaving legacies. There are so many ways to leave legacies. I don't know how many of you guys who have young sons or young daughters. You want to make sure that you're leaving a legacy that hopefully your young son will marry a woman of God, you know, or a young girl married a man of God. So this is why we do this. So for me, even though I don't have any children here, my youngest is 16, and I'm new in the country, doesn't matter. I want to leave a legacy that young men can say that, hey, I have something that is a blueprint given to me, and I can go out and not only make better in my home, but also in my community. So always understand your why.
Yeah, if I may just say maybe one thing in there. I know sometimes when we're beginning a new program, we feel a little bit overwhelmed. But the one thing that I like about this program is that the materials are so well laid out that you don't have to overthink anything. I found that very reassuring, because many times you start a program and you're wondering, am I going to be effective? But one thing that I really loved about this program is that the books, the presenters, they present it in such a way that it breaks it down and makes it very easy and to be relatable. That you cannot go wrong.
Mm-hmm. Sam, you got a question there, buddy?
Question: How did you facilitate the survey to the body to determine dates and times? How was that done?
So I used SurveyMonkey. Okay. Right, and then just sent it out to. It was a general email to all the men. If we ran a virtual men's study, what would be the best time to run that? So it wasn't specifically for this particular one, but it was a general question out to the networks that we had, and most of them came back with either the Sunday morning or the Sunday evening.
Got it. So with that being said, because I don't think I participated in that survey. So let's say for the whatever group or church that you decide to run this to, would you, I guess, have to, like, what would be your suggestion on obtaining the contacts of that? Would you suggest get the men who are interested sign up first and then do the survey, or just a general thing to the church body saying, listen, we're planning on doing this. Men who may or may be interested, please fill out the survey.
Yeah, you can do it either way. You can do it either way. If you want people to sign up and then ask them as part of that sign up, which would be the best time, as the part of the registration, and then you'll just get the feedback from there and say, you know what, this is the time that we can get mostly everyone. Hopefully everyone can make it. Okay,
cool. Thank you.
And I just want to add this, guys. Just don't target the men at your church. You guys that you work with, you don't have to package it in a way. This is Christian men. This is men coming together to talk about life. Because as you notice, those videos was about men in their everyday life. So this is a way you could use as a tool to minister to a man without him feeling like he's trying to dump Christianity down his throat or Seventh-day Adventism down his throat. It's men coming together.
Yeah. All right, so let's move forward. So Phase 2 is the week before. Week leading up to it, again, prayer, bathe this whole process in prayer, advertise, send out the sign-up sheet for people to come through. Make sure that the week before, send through the videos, the instructions for the first lesson, send through the Zoom link, all of that on the same email, and then just remind people of the starting day and time and that you're looking forward to seeing them. So, all of the pre-work is kind of done. This is kind of like just preparing for the week before. And then once you start, the actual meeting, start and finish on time. We were kind of pressed on this one. We kind of evolved over the time of our time together. But it is important to at least start on time, right? Because people can sign off whenever they need to if it goes too long. But you starting right at 7:30, opening up the Zoom link allows for people to know that we respect their time. And so just open it up. Even if you open it up earlier, allow people to be part of that, and just to let them know that you respect their time. And then the second thing that we did was that we laid down the ground rules, and the ground rules were very simple. There were two. One was respect, the other one was confidentiality, right? We respect each other. Anything that is said here is a safe space. And the other one was confidentiality. People are being transparent and vulnerable, and nothing will be said outside of that space. So make sure that that is something that everyone understands as part of the group rules and boundaries. Number 3, less about the material, more about the dialogue. And this is what we were challenged with every week in preparation. What do we say, what do we leave out? And even while we were in the session, we still had to leave out other stuff because the discussion was already rich. And so just don't be tied down to the material that you do, the outline that you have. Some people want to just finish the material, but I think the greater thing for us, yes, is material. Hopefully people watch the videos. That's why it's important for people to watch things ahead of time, because they already have the material. So it's not about you trying to go through the whole material, but just pick out some of the things that really stick out to you, that really challenged you. And then from there, you're able to kind of put together. So this is kind of a general outline that we followed as we went through. So there was a 5-minute, how was your week? And that was from 7:30 to 7:35. And then we did the welcome, the prayer, the intro to the session that we had. And then we had 3 different parts. So we specifically chose 3 different points. And this is where, for us and the group, we would meet midweek. So how we went from Sunday to the following Sunday, right? So there was 2 weeks in between. We would meet in between that and already watch the videos ourselves, and then come together as the 4 of us and say, hey, what challenged you in this video? And from there, we would say to the person that is leading out in that week, this is a good thing to highlight. Maybe say it this way. This is probably the, an illustration or breakout room idea. So, we were able to give input, and then the person, let's say Victor was the one that was presenting, we would give inputs from what we learned and what we were challenged with, and then he would go and put the whole lesson together. And then he would actually send it to us, before the session on Sunday, and we would go through it so that we would be familiarized with it. The beauty of it is that even though we said, Victor, you're taking care of it, sometimes Victor would come back and say, you know what, guys, it'll be good if I give this to you, Cliff. Can you do this for me, this part? Pastor, can you do this part for me? Fraser, are you there this week? Yes, I am. Okay, can you do this part? So even though he was the one that put it together, he still allowed others within the group to still participate in it, because we were part of the process too. You know what I mean? So it's about growing together. It's kind of, it was fun. It was fun to be able to do that. Any input from you guys before I move in? Victor, Cliff?
I think if I say something, it's especially when you're presenting and you're part of a group, it's really nice to know that you have people who have your back. Because what happens sometimes, presentation is presentation. During delivery, you might have all those points that you want to say, and then you get on there before the screen, and all the men in anticipation of what you're going to be saying, and sometimes some points can even freeze, but that is okay, especially when you know that you have other men who are in your corner, who are trying to make sure that this materials gets out there. And I think the focus word there was dialogue.
Mm.
If you can, if this can ignite a conversation and people begin talking about it, I think for me that was rich.
Yeah.
And especially during sessions, you would see a point could come up and people will begin talking about it, and that became really the highlight of the whole thing, because people are taking it in, and people are owning that space, and they are saying, yes, this touched me this way. So yeah, that was kind of an highlight for me during the presentations.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's just how important that group was. This organizing group helping to facilitate and lead out, because they were committed to it, and yes, it does take time in the middle to be able to come back together. But one of the things that was good for us is that after the session, so once we closed down, 8:45, 9 o'clock, we stayed back for an extra 20 minutes, and we just critiqued, like, what could we have done better this session. And then whoever it was that was going to lead out the next session, they would take all of this stuff and build upon it. So there's really no blueprint. It's just one of those things where you just gotta dive into it and adjust as you go through it. The men that you are trying to reach. Not all men's groups are the same, and so you might need to do different things in order for people, to be engaged, and that's all right. I mean, there's no real one way, to do all of these things. So it gives you that flexibility. But one thing I want to say about this is point one, point two, point three, um, can be seen in different ways. So point one could have been a breakout room. It could have been a question, go out to a breakout room. Point two could have been an open discussion for everyone. Point three could have been an open testimonial time. So it doesn't always have to be point one, point two, point three. It was using the breakout rooms. It was using the openness for people to kind of share. A question will be put out. People would answer, according to how they feel or what they see. So it just doesn't always have to look the same. It's really flexible. It's really up to you how you can piece this thing together according to the lesson, because all the lessons are different, and so you might need to use a different methods in each of them. One of the things that we found was for the earlier ones, because there was a lot more content in the videos, we took out some of the videos. So you notice that we basically chopped it up. I did it on QuickTime. I just took the whole video. I marked off where which part I wanted, deleted the rest, and then I had that video, that portion, put it into the PowerPoint. That became 1 or 2 minutes watching that, and then we were able to ask questions based off of that. So again, that's really up to you how you can do that, how you can one of the last things that I did was I brought in a video with the Boston Celtics. Y'all remember that, right? And I couldn't get that video any other way except to play it right off Netflix. So I had to make sure that was ready on my screen to share right at that moment. And right after that clip was done, I can just take it off. But there's so much out there. There's so many little clips. It could be from the video. It could be others that kind of support it. Whatever it is, you can you can be flexible with that. Any questions on this one?
I just wanted to ask a question. So I see that throughout the session we use Zoom. I've used Zoom before for some other meetings, and without having an account, it shuts you off after 40 minutes. Do you have a paid Zoom account, or like how did that work? And are there any limited capabilities if you don't have a paid Zoom account? Because I remember I tried using Zoom one time and it shut me off after 40 minutes. I have to send another link and another link to keep having the meeting going. So there's another group that I host with a couple other brothers of mine, and right now we use Google Meet because it doesn't shut you off.
Sure.
So I was just curious to know on that platform, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh no, I mean there's a lot of different platforms. Whichever one works for you. I know that Zoom, the account that I do have is a paid account. For those of you who are part of churches, most churches have an account, a Zoom account. And so, you know, you can just connect, you know, to your pastor and say, hey, is it possible for us to use the Zoom account, the church's one, for this amount of time? Because the basic one, the non-paying one, it does cut off at 40. I don't know if it's extended to an hour or if it's still 40. Anyone know?
What it does actually is, and of course for small groups, if you have like 3 people or less, you can go for about 3 hours, I believe.
Oh,
Right. So if you were to have a small group, but then even with your free account, you can do polls, you can do your breakout rooms, like you can do all of those things still with that unpaid Zoom.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, Google Meet, Teams, there's like quite a few things. Like my company was using Teams as a free service, and now we're about to pay for it to use it as our phone service.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's another one that's going to give you a little bit more time. There are breakout rooms, and another one that I've experimented with is called freeconference.com.
Mhm.
Also has breakout rooms, and it doesn't seem to have that sort of lockdown where it just shuts you out.
Okay.
A little bit of investigation though on the freeconference.com, because we tried it to, you know, talk about this meeting, and there were some weird things that were happening that I didn't notice before with smaller teams. So
okay.
those are definite options.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. So phase 3, you know, once you get through the first, you know, then it's just sailing, right? You're going through meeting with you know, for each session. Everyone is making sure that whatever each session is going to look like. But this is where most of the meaningful stuff happened. It was deepening those connections. And how we looked at it was, number one, to use the breakout rooms and to use those that are in those groups to meet together on a regular basis. And so connected throughout the journey, ask the men to check in with each other outside of the sessions and pray with each other, right? So this part of it was, once they were in a room for the first time, we wanted them to stay in those groups. Zoom was a little bit harder to do because I think it was just the way that we registered everyone, because everyone signs in from a different account sometimes, so it's not always from the same email. So it was hard to pre-assign, right? Unless one way to get across that is to sign up through registration through Zoom. I don't know if that makes sense, because now your link is attached to your email. So then the pre-assigning can happen easier. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. So that could be an option if you look at it. You're able to do that. But getting men to just connect. So we had, you know, Sunday to the next Sunday, it was 2 weeks, you know, basically in there. And so we asked the question, what is the way that people can connect during the week? And so one of them was, in those groups, they come back together, they pray with each other, meet up. And for most of the groups, you know, they'll spend 30 minutes. Hey, how was your week? Pray with each other, and, you know, just to connect. We also set up the WhatsApp, the Messenger, we did the WhatsApp, but you can also do it on Messenger, Facebook. There's other ways to connect with the group in general, and just keep bringing out, you know, different questions on what they learned from the previous sessions, And again, one of the things that we did was to give a gift giveaway during the sessions. Those are always pretty cool. Everyone's excited to win something. So for those that did, congratulations. But those were things that we did to help deepen the connection, just to deepen that connection throughout that process. So it wasn't just meet on Sunday and then wait 2 weeks until the next Sunday, and then the next 2 weeks, and then meet, go, do whatever, but it was about connecting with one another, trying to find friendships and brotherhood, prayer partners, accountability partners, all of those things as part of the total package. So deepening those connections, you might have some ideas as to how to do that, to do it to your group as well. But these are just some things that kind of worked out for us. Go ahead, Victor.
I just want to say that, what Pastor Lang was saying about the various ways you can stay in touch. I don't know if you guys know about Marco Polo. It is a video chat app that is on your phone. What you could do is you could record a video, and the guy, he can answer that video anytime he wants to. One of the things that I did with Marco Polo, a small group that I did was we did a push-up challenge. So what we'll do is we'll record ourselves doing push-ups, and that is another way to help each other to stay connected, because you're challenging each other to push each other, propel each other forward. Doesn't have to be push-ups. It could be walking, whatever it is to keep men united, because one of the things that we're finding out because of people being, I don't like to use the word lockdown, but in isolation, your mind tend to wander, and so what we want to do is keep men connected in such a way that if he is falling into a dark place, he can reach out, whether it be through WhatsApp, Marco Polo, and just say, hey guys, I need for you to pray for me, and we'll go right into that and begin to pray.
So yeah, sorry guys, I just realized that the screen wasn't sharing at all. So you didn't have a visual of what was shared, but everything that I spoke about is on this PDF that I will send out to you guys. That was the final one in there. There is this, I don't know if you guys heard of Clubhouse. Anyone heard of Clubhouse?
Yes, I heard of it. Real nice, man.
Yeah, you've been on there?
Yes. Yeah. What it is that there's various rooms that you can go into, and there's a topic that you can talk about. One topic, well, I'm not going to get into that, but it was a very good topic, and you can go into the room and hear the discussion. At the end, you can be waited to be asked to share your thoughts on it. So Clubhouse is something that I noticed that a lot of young people are using now.
Yeah. Take a look at it. I mean, that's kind of a side note to what we're doing right now, but it seems to be the growing trend for now, anyways. And I think what it does, it's all your voice. So there's no video. Everything is your voice, and it's kind of like you're going into a room, a virtual room, and whatever topic you're going in there, you're hearing a lot of different people speak on different topics. So there's men's groups that are in there as well, where one person is speaking. They could ask you to speak, depending on what your passion is. So if your passions are men's groups and Christianity or those sorts of things, then there could be a Raptors group. I don't know. I'm sure there is, but it's just people talking about basketball the whole time. Again, it's another platform, very different, but I think it's another way to do ministry, I guess, for those who are interested in jumping in there. Roderick, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. Just wanted to find out, or had a question regarding completing the series and what happens next. Like, how do you kind of end the group, basically?
So the thing with going with 6 weeks is that you eat up a big chunk, almost 3 months, right? And so realistically, you're probably looking at running 2 per year, to keep people engaged. So it could be something where it could be run in your own local setting. It could be run in the spring, and then it could be run again also in the fall. So one of the things that we opted for was for us during the spring of this year to run it in our own churches. So for me, I'm helping Berea Church run this 33 series at their church, and so one of the things that we wanted to do. So instead of running another one, what would it look like if men ran their own? And so part of that whole process, as we were going through it in the fall of last year, we planted that seed in your heart. What does it look like for you to run it? And you can challenge the men that are in your group. Challenge them to say, what would it look like if you ran something like this? What would it look like if you grabbed another 3 guys and you ran the series? Now you're empowering them. They're not there to consume all of this stuff. They're there now to lead all of this stuff, because things don't stick unless we teach it, unless we're rehashing it, we're diving into it ourselves, and we're actually sharing it with other people. Now, a lot of people are scared, and I do understand the reasoning behind it. A lot of people are scared to do it because they're saying, you know what, I need to get right first before I jump into this. Well, guess what? A lot of this material for us that were running it, this was new for us. So we were getting right while we were doing it. We were challenging ourselves while we were doing the series. We were doing the small things that needed to be done in accountability, cultivating, nurturing, all of that sort of stuff. We had to do it ourselves. And so don't, put it out there to the men. Once you run it once, put it out there to the men and see, you know what would it look like if you ran it, for yourself? But I know for a lot of churches, they run 2 things like this per year, like one in the spring, winter, spring, and then one in the fall in the calendar. So it's always going.
Just a follow up. So how would this like springboard into staying connected throughout the year, or even springboard into getting the men more involved with other parts of service?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a whole lot of things that this is just a part. So this is not the only thing, right? This is part of the big picture, because you want to connect with men holistically. So, for you as men's ministries leaders, what does it look like for men to be healthy? What does it look like for men to, let's say, to do community service, out there in the community? What does it look like for men to be financially stable and to get rid of the debt that they have? So this is kind of like that springboard into other things throughout the year. But this is like, I would say this is like the bread and butter. Why? Because you got 6 weeks to help people to change not only their mentality, but also to transform their lives. Out of this, the outflow of this would be the other stuff, the service to the community, the helping them with building projects, coming together, those sorts of things. So it's interconnected with everything else that can be done throughout the church. And our churches are really busy, so you don't want to pack too much in, because the thing about men's ministries is men's works together with every other department within the church. Like, we can't be isolated, because there's men as elders, there's men as deacons, there's men as young adults in young adults. And so for us to be able to go into those spaces and say to our deacons, head deacons, say, hey, how are we growing our deacons spiritually? Because those forums are already there, and we don't want to take up or compete for time. you know, because what ends up happening is that men will then choose. They would pick and choose what they want to go to, and sometimes coming to a group of men when they're just been with men, either playing basketball or those sorts of things, it would just be another group that is added on. So try to, you know, kind of go into all the other areas. I know Sid runs a basketball men's on Sunday mornings. That's it. That's the platform. That's the platform to be able to do that and encourage men. And it's intertwined with other things that happen in the church as well.
Thank you.
We have Victor. Your hand is still up, or Aldo Dervin. Maybe we'll give it to Aldo Dervin.
No, you good, man. You hit right on the nail on the head with that. When the gentleman asked, what would this pretty much catapult into? You hit the nail right on the head.
Okay, Aldo Dervin.
Okay, Pastor.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the brothers earlier mentioned an activity that we could do just for a couple of minutes. He mentioned dominoes.
Yep.
So I didn't even know that we had virtual dominoes. Is there any other activities that men could do online? Probably like 5 minutes, 10 minutes as part of the session. Does anybody know of any other activity?
Yeah, I mean, I'll open this one up. Any other activities?
Yeah, there's
virtually?
Scrabble.
Scrabble.
Yeah.
Scrabble is one.
There's another one if you wanted to play virtual basketball. Like if I wanted to beat up on Pastor Kool-Aid in a game of basketball, you know, you can, it's an app that you can text him, you send it to him, he'll pick up his phone and he'll start playing it, and I can see what he's doing, he can see what I'm doing. There are several apps on the phone that you could do.
It's called gaming. It's called PlayStation and Xbox. But there's a lot of there are a lot of different ways to connect, you know, online, especially in this virtual space. But Domino's is definitely one of those that you know, Cliff and I, you know, back in Ottawa, Tuesday nights, all the men get together for Domino's, and Saturday nights as well. And it was a good time for discussion, camaraderie, encouragement to happen. And so, you know, whatever, you know, we can use to be able to stay together and encourage one another. Sid, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. So I wanted to ask about the books, because I found having the books hard copy version to be valuable. It would have been great to also have them in PDF for each of the 6 sessions. And I'm wondering if we do take this back, like I'm planning to take this back to the men's basketball ministry that I lead out in. I'm wondering how the logistics around that, and if it could be available in both formats, just in case for some folks, for some guys, it'll resonate more for them to have it in PDF versus a hard copy.
Sure. I mean, PDF is definitely easier, but I think, they don't have a PDF version of it. And I think that's intentional on their part because it is a ministry. The moment you put it as a PDF, you know, it's easier to send to people and they lose out in that revenue. So, you know, when it is an independent ministry and they do such publishing works and those sorts of things, it also becomes a way to fund the ministry as well. So, you know, it's the hardcover books is what we have. So we do have books, and we are planning to put in order this week, you know, for some books. I know that some of you were asking about books. What I would ask you is, when do you plan to start? Because we have books right now that we would give to you if your starting was in sometime in January, you know, or even early February. But if your starting date is end of February going into March or even April, then we would put you as part of the order that we are putting through this week or next week. But I know that some of you have already emailed through. Maurice, I know that you had, Ruth is going to get in touch with you just to ask you when you're starting. And because we do have some in the office, but we won't be able to give everyone the books right now if you're all starting in January. So
Yeah, we're thinking, the strong suggestion that I have given to the men's group is first Sunday in February to actually have that first session,
okay.
so that in January we are planning and
Yep.
getting together
Yep.
with the men's group executives. So yeah, that's the time frame that we're looking at. So February, March, April, basically.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good.
If we're unable to meet that order that you're putting in this week, can we order them later? Because I'm still in the initial stages of potentially planning this. I want to just see what happened throughout this session and then talk.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Just you just let us know. Just give us when you do finalize. Chris, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think that last point there is really what I was asking about in terms of the 33 series. How do you get a hold of the material? So as I understand it, it's actually the hardcover books. That is
Yes,
that
yes,
this information is
the
actually
hardcover books, correct.
right. And in terms of the videos that you referenced, is it that there are links in the book that provide some another sort of media that you have access to videos, or is it a
So
separate?
so I have the links with me, and what I would do is I will send you all 6 of those links.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's one link per before. So what we did was that we got people to watch the link prior to the week. And so when they came to the meeting, they already watched it.
Understood.
Yeah, but my suggestion though is, I mean, here we're talking about lessons learned. I think I like how Pastor Pule sent out, one video, the one that we're going to be watching every time instead of sending all the 6, because then it provides people with that focused approach. The current one you're going to be watching, that is the one that you watch, and then you come in and discuss it, and then before you get the next one. I think I found that very useful and very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think those are the questions that have been brought forward. Let me just share this with you. The author, I don't know what happened in there. That's got that little swoosh in there, but it says this: the change in our own lives and in the lives of those we serve comes from God. We create the space. We are invited into the process, but God brings the transformation. And that's all we're doing. That's all this is. Like, there is nothing, there is no power that we have that can transform anybody. But what we are doing is providing a space for God to be able to do what he does. And so I'm challenging each of you. I know that, sometimes we don't know how it's going to turn out, but guess what? If you do this consistently over and over again, you will find your rhythm, right? But like anything else, it starts with that first step. And whatever that first step looks like, we never fail. We learn. It might not turn out the way that we wanted it to. That's okay. We just learned a way of how to not do it. Now let's go and change it the next time we do it. But it's something that needs to be done consistently. So when you're thinking about this in your own church, think about the rhythms of your church. Think about how when these things are done consistently, these things such as this, people can look forward to it. People can invite other men to say, hey, you know what? We had one last year. We're having one again this year. Every year we're starting in this time. We have a men's group that's coming up. So keep it consistent year after year after year. Don't have it as a one-off thing. But and just continue to grow with it. You will see the fruits of it. You will see the fruits. You will see the growth in your men, and you will see the growth in yourself as well as you move forward. All right. So that's what we wanted to share with you. Most of you have my email. The materials is Ruth Widener at Adventist Ontario. So she was out in BC. She is back now and is able to make those orders. So just get in touch with her. Get in touch with me if you still want some clarification. Hey, we're here, and Victor as well. Cliff is here as well. So we're here to help you out. If you want more clarification on certain issues, on certain things within your own church or your own group, hit us up. We'll love to be there and help you out and just walk you through it. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. Thank you for answering this call. And, you know, I see your heart in all of this, of where God wants to lead you and take you in this. But whatever it is, let God lead us, and he will do what he said he will do. Who are we going to ask? Victor, I'm going to ask you to pray, brother. If you can close us off with prayer.
Father, it is all of us standing in the need of prayer. This is why we come to you, Father, because of who you are. You are our resting place. There are 12 men here, Father, and we want to be better men for thee, for our families, for our communities. And so, Father, we ask that you guide us. Each man here that have decided to answer the call that Pastor Poulet put out, grant them the wisdom of how to put everything together and to remember to breathe and allow the Holy Spirit to do the work. But you said, Father, in your word, if you be lifted up, you will draw all men to you. So it is a group of men here that are coming together to lift you up. In Jesus' name, amen.